Suspension is one of the most important yet complicated parts of tuning a modified car. With so many adjustable parts and setup combinations available, it can become very daunting. In this issue of Tech Talk, we'll look at some suspension basics. Suspension setup determines the ride and handling characteristics of a car. There are countless amounts of variations possible, but the suspension setup is generally focused towards a given driving application, such as drifting, drag racing, circuit racing, and street use. The role of the suspension in a car is varied, but the main reason is to control the movement and the alignment of the wheels while maintaining the optimum tyre contact with the ground over varying road surfaces. But let's have a look at some of the key parts that are relevant to late model cars. Firstly, the main part is the wishbone. The wishbone attaches the hub assembly to the chassis. The wishbone allows up and down movement of the hub as it pivots around its base. On the front of this Nissan Silvia, it has the wishbone attached to the bottom of the hub, and the top of the hub is attached to the chassis by the strut assembly. This single wishbone and strut layout is called a McPherson strut system. At the rear of this Silvia, you can see that we still have the lower wishbone below the hub, but at the top of the hub it's a little bit different. This arrangement is called a double wishbone setup. Attached to the wishbone and hub assembly are various locating devices called control arms or rods. These control arms and rods help locate and align the hub assembly relative to the chassis. An example of this is the front lower control arm, which is also called a caster rod. The wishbones and control arms are attached to the chassis via rubber links, which are called bushers. Rubber bushers are used in factory cars because they help get rid of some of the vibration and noise that travels through the suspension into the chassis for a better ride. The problem with this though is these rubber bushers tend to flex under hard cornering and performance driving. To counteract this, what we do is we replace them with either nolethane or urethane bushers such as this. This helps keep the alignment more consistent when you're doing performance driving. Shock absorbers and springs are the most commonly modified part of a suspension setup in a car. The spring in a car is what controls the up and down movement of the suspension. The length and stiffness of the spring determines the ride height of the vehicle. The stiffness of the spring also determines how much the car will move. The stiffer the spring, the less the car will move. For an example, this is why production cars use soft springs to give more suspension travel over bumps to give a smoother and better quality ride. Springs can be found in either coil or leaf variety. Leaf springs are generally found in older as well as commercial and heavy duty vehicles. I've removed the shock absorbers from this ute so you can see what happens when a car just has springs in it. When I apply force to the back of the ute, I'm able to get large oscillations of the spring. And when I take the force away, the car will continue to bounce for a while before coming back to the rest position. This ute still has the shocks in it, so when I push on the ute, the car comes back to the rest position almost instantly. This is because the shock absorbers absorb the oscillation of the spring. Shock absorbers can either be gas-filled, oil-filled, or both. The way the shock absorber works is by the gas or oil inside absorbing the kinetic energy of the spring as it moves by turning it into heat. Shock absorbers are available in different levels of stiffness. The stiffer the shock absorber is, the quicker and harsher it absorbs the oscillation of the spring. Springs and shock absorbers can be constructed as a single unit, which is known as a coilover. Coilovers are used in all forms of motorsport to provide more precise control and adjustability in a more compact unit. Coilovers are basically a shock absorber with a closely wrapped coil spring around it. Coilovers are manufactured as a package where the shock absorber is matched to the spring rate. They can be purchased in various spring rates to suit different driving applications. Coilovers provide height adjustment by being able to move the spring seat up and down the thread on the strut. Many coilovers also come with adjustable dampening force, and some also offer an individual adjustment of bound and rebound. Coilovers are also available with an adjustable strut top which allows further camber adjustment, and others are available to provide caster adjustment as well. Coilovers are considered essential for motorsport use such as drifting and circuit racing. Most cars have some of these specifications adjustable from factory. However, aftermarket parts are often required for full adjustability. Hopefully some of these suspension basics we've looked at will help give you an understanding of what's going on underneath your car.